You are listening to Motivation and Confidence Volume 1, The 7 Steps by Tom Danger.
All right, everybody worldwide, you're now tuned into Motivation and Confidence, where we help you do your daily best. And I'm your host, Tom Danger. Back this week with a new episode. And this week we're going to talk about, in episode 59, dealing with stress. Now, I actually have a story that I like to share. I had started a new job almost 9 years ago. Was really excited, new opportunity, the potential for growth was there. Thought I was walking into what seemed to be a better situation than the current situation that I was in. But it turned out that this new job was extremely stressful. And it was mostly due to management. You know, at the time it was just, I don't know if the manager at that time had personal issues or, you know, there was a vendetta against the department, but it was extremely adversarial. When I started, it seemed pretty cool, but then over time it just, I don't know, it got bad. I mean, I don't even know how else to describe it. I mean, was spoke down to, intimidated. Well, people tried to intimidate me, belittled. It was just crazy. Something that I didn't really want to deal with. And I remember going to the doctor and they took my blood pressure. And when they took my blood pressure, they noticed that my blood pressure was extremely high. And, you know, at the time, I wasn't, you know, that old. I was only about, 30 some odd years old. So the doctor was like, you know, you're kind of young to be suffering from high blood pressure. Well, I said, you know, it runs in my family. He said, okay. But at the same time, it shouldn't really be that high. So let's put you on a mild medication just to monitor it. 6 months later, I go back and it was even higher, still in the same work environment. Again, over time, it snowballed into something that was just totally hard to deal with. It affected my work performance. It affected my marriage. It affected my home life. I mean, it was affecting my health and just in trying to deal with this situation. So, you know, the doctor looked at me and said, you have to learn how to manage stress. You know, the things that are stressing you aren't necessarily going to go away. And if you keep letting it control you, it's only going to get worse. So I'm like, wow, what am I to do? You know, so I started running. And for those of you who follow the Motivation and Confidence page, you'll see that from time to time I'll post, you know, or share the stats of how many miles I ran. At one time I was training for a half marathon, or riding the bike and, you know, putting some miles in, just staying active. And I noticed that by staying active, it had somewhat of a positive effect on the high blood pressure. And I started seeing a difference in the numbers, right? Because now I found this out to basically balance the stress that I was dealing with. I think that part of it was me having built up aggression, you know, toward this individual and trying to find a way to deal with it in a positive and healthy manner. And for me, it was, you know, just physical activity. And by doing so, my blood pressure went down somewhat. Now, it also had to do with my diet. You know, at the time I was heavily into chips and just all kind of bad stuff, you know, hamburgers and, you know, just eating all over the place. Now, the particular individual that was causing so much of a ruckus and dismay wound up leaving, right? And I noticed that I was still under stress. I was still under stress from the fact of the job itself was a very intense job. So out of his role, I wound up taking on those responsibilities, things that I basically had no knowledge of. And I had to make it do what it do so that I could, you know, provide for my family. So again, the element of stress was still there. So I had to say to myself, well, what else could I do? So then I started modifying my diet, right? And one thing that I always try to do on a daily basis is make sure I get my fruits and vegetables. I know some people just don't like vegetables, or, don't make a conscious decision. And there are those who really go above and beyond. I wasn't really one of those people at first that went above and beyond. I would just sort of graze at it. Like if I got a piece of fruit, it was cool. If I got some lettuce and tomato on my sandwich, I was good. But I mean, really getting some broccoli or some kale or some Brussels sprouts or something like that on a daily basis. And again, when I started incorporating more fruits and vegetables in my diet, I started to notice an adverse effect on my blood pressure. Like it would dip down for a little bit. I go back to the doctor and he said, "Hey, you're doing good. Did you make any changes?" And I said, "Yeah, I changed my diet, so on and so on." And again, as life goes on, there's always that element of something else that will come along that will continue to stress you. Once I thought that I had a pretty good handle on it, I was still taking blood pressure medicine, but my blood pressure would stay within a normal range of 120/80, right? Then my mom got sick. Wow, blood pressure again shot right back up. Now I'm trying to, provide elder care, as they call it, still helping out with the kids and, trying to be a good husband and all this stuff. And man, it just started beating me up. My blood pressure sky high. Now, I wanted to train, I was training for a half marathon. And recently I injured myself, so again, 9 months of preparation, down the tubes. But again, I have to learn how to manage the stress and the element of, things happen and how do you deal with it. So I took it a step further and, I basically eliminated meat from my diet. And it's probably been at least 6 months now that I haven't consumed any red meat whatsoever. I do have seafood from time to time. Rarely do I even have any poultry, but for the most part, I don't consume any meat. My days are pretty much filled with fruits and vegetables and whole grains and things like that. And a lot of people ask me, well, how do you get your protein? I get my protein from my fruits and vegetables. And some people may disagree with that, but so be it. And recently when I went to the doctor, my blood pressure has dropped dramatically to the point to where my medication has been cut in half. So I don't really need to take medication at the high dosage that I was. It's cut in half. And I continue to monitor what I eat, exercise regularly. And I don't want to say don't sweat the small stuff. I mean, you have to keep yourself in good company, right? So you want to be around people that are positive. You want to make sure that you take the time daily to go within the environments that you find peaceful, to where you can find your quiet so that you can calm yourself, and I do this I was doing it with running or cycling, but I can't do that for the next 8 weeks. So I'll be heavily into meditating. For those of you that do meditate, it will help. For those of you that, have prayers, so be it, it can help. And it's just always finding that balance. So the element of stress will always remain, but you have to find the elements that will help you to counter that, right? And again, just to restate, diet, exercise, your environment, and positive thoughts that you do is what I believe can help you to reduce your stress and help you to deal with stress. Like, subscribe, and share. And if there's a subject that you'd like for us to talk about, definitely leave it in the comments. Share the video on your pages. I definitely appreciate it. We're on multiple platforms. We're on Spreaker, which is www.spreaker.com. We're on iTunes. We're on Google Play, Google Music, excuse me. We're on Spotify. I think we're coming to Deezer pretty soon. We're on iHeartRadio, so we're on multiple platforms. And we also have the book coming out, Motivation and Confidence, Volume 1, 7 Steps, which basically talks about how you can take your ideas from that napkin or piece of paper and really develop it into a product to where you can just say that you did something, right? So you can check that out on tomdanger.com. And we appreciate you. And until next week, this is Motivation and Confidence, where we help you do your daily best.